late, I think, or two, depending.
Yeah.
We're live. Hey, Pastor.
Hey, Ruben.
It's good to see you,
Good to see you too.
my partner in crime.
We are around, what do we call it? Independence. So I wanted to mark the colors, those still in African regalia,
Okay.
the red, the red and the blue.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank
Yes.
you for being able to join me at the last minute. Um, it's just been very hectic this past week. I had somebody lined up. They had to cancel at the last minute. And I think I saw you 2 days ago.
Yep.
And you are ready to jump on and go. And that's the thing I've always appreciated about you, Pastor Martin, is your, willingness to connect,
Same here.
to be prepared to go. So again, thank you. Welcome. Hey, this is episode 10. So I want to give a welcome to. Oh, I'm just trying to connect here. Uh, Give a few minutes for people to join.
Yep.
So welcome to anybody who has jumped on. We got one person. That's it. Want to make sure. And then you can, I think, forward it onto your personal link as well, or is it in the African think tank so that others can join?
Yes.
Um, okay. So welcome to the 10th episode of TATT Talks. And for those who are joining us for maybe the first time, my name is Roedi Ruben Njiraro, is originally from Chad, Africa, which is either people say Central Africa, West Africa. It's also known as the dead heart of Africa, just because we're surrounded by, we're landlocked and everything. But I serve as the engagement director for the African think tank. And I've been serving in that role for, I think, half a year. I was the Dallas regional director last year, which my good friend King Guapo has taken over. But we at the African Think Tank have 5 chapters. We have the Dallas chapter, the Houston, the DMV, Charlotte, and Atlanta. And so we're out there reaching out to people. So we're also going to bring people from those other chapters to join in on conversation. So TAT Talks is really about just having a conversation with individuals who've interacted with the African think tank one way or another, whether they've been vendors, whether they've been panel on one of our panel discussions, or whether they've come as guests. And so we really appreciate that. And so Pastor Martin has served with me in the African think tank since the very beginning. And we recently took a road trip to Houston, which was
Yep.
fun. We'll talk more about that. And are we live? Yeah, we're live. Okay.
Yep.
And so I just want to. Oh, here we go. I think I'm a little. I just want to make sure I forward it to. Okay. Sorry, I got it. All right. So I just want to jump into this conversation right away. First of all, before I forget, if you're watching and you have any questions, go ahead and start asking those questions now. So it gives an opportunity to engage or put those questions in as we're having this conversation. And so, Pastor Martin, just share a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do. And we'll start there, but also a little bit about your growing up. For what country are you from? When did you leave? But when you were there, how long were you there? What did you enjoy doing? Is family still there? And what was it like growing up? So let's start
Right.
there and then
Yeah.
phase our way into the second portion.
Well, thank you so much, Ruben, for having me on the show this evening. Originally, I'm from Ghana, West Africa. I grew up in Accra, the capital, and later on, my father was transferred to Pando in the Volta region, where I did finish my secondary education over there, but elementary years, middle school years, then they call it junior secondary school. I did that in Accra, the capital. My dad was an educator. He was an auto mechanic instructor at the Accra Technical Training Center. After having been trained in Canada and that's a Canadian government, Ghana government partnership. So in those days, in the 60s, he was one of the first to go from his village of about 1,700 people to Canada, to Saskatchewan University, where he studied. And we grew up in Accra, an area called Roman Ridge, which is more like the government bungalows that a lot of civil servants lived. So we had a beautiful growing up, childhood. My dad loved gardening and farming. So it's something we did wherever we lived. When we went to Kwando, it even became bigger. My mom and my dad had 7 of us. Prior to my mom marrying my dad, she had 3. So my mom had 10 children. And of the 10 children, 8 boys and 2 girls. We lost our older sister and an older brother. And we now have 1 sister surviving. But our family valued education greatly. And going to school was very, very important. We went to the library every summer to check out books. Education was the conversation we had in our living room. You may be familiar, Ruben, about the African Writers series, Chinua Achebe, and all of those series, and we read those and we discussed them. After dinner, that was what happened in our living room. We discussed books like we were in a literature class. So passion for education, passion for reading was something I grew up with. In 1992, I left Ghana for the first time to study children's ministry. I was involved in Sunday school at the time and teaching Sunday school, and loved it. So that led me to Switzerland through an organization called Child Evangelism Fellowship, where I trained as a children's evangelist. And thereafter, I went to London, England, and worked with Child Evangelism organization there, training Sunday school teachers all over England, Scotland, and Wales.
Wow.
When I did that for about 3 years, I said to myself, I probably need to go get a degree in education. And when I was a child, we used to have Oral Roberts on our national TV Evangelistic Association. So I remember saying to my dad one day as we were watching some of the evangelistic ministry that I'm going to go to that university. It was a beautiful university in Tulsa. So when the time came to go to university, I applied to Oral Roberts University and got in. And the rest is history. Maybe down the line, this conversation will talk about some of the challenges and the struggles of being able to graduate with 2 degrees when I got to that campus with only $200 in my pocket. But that is for further down the line. So
no, we'll definitely talk about that. You and your brother, I met your brother. He was here, I think, a month and a half. The doctor, the PhD. So yeah, your family is educationally heavy. And I know your kids are too, but I'll let you continue.
Yeah, so coming to Oral Roberts University and trying to gain an education. At the time, there was a church in London, England that was going to sponsor my education. But right when I got to school, there was leadership change. And because of that, they could not sponsor me. So here I was at Oral Roberts University. I got de-enrolled after 2 weeks, got kicked out of school, and did not have the money to pay for school. But there was a certain determination. There was a certain belief that I was meant to be there. So I went knocking on doors. I went to the financial aid office. I told the lady, I still remember her vividly today. I said to her, is there a way I can pay and work on this campus and go to school? And she said, well, we'll see what we can do. So fast forward, about a couple of weeks later, she called me and said, well, we have an opportunity for you at the cafeteria. We'll give you work study and you can pay your way through college. So I embraced that opportunity and started working at the Oral Roberts University cafeteria as a student worker. The first night, my responsibility, in addition to cleaning up, was to mop the floor. Man, Ruben, did I mop that floor? I knew my life depended on it.
I know.
Because I knew that was my way out.
Yeah.
I got called in the office, actually. I got called in the office, and I'm like, what did I do now? Yeah. And the gentleman who was the manager of all student workers, Ben Chrysostom, he's gone to be with the Lord now. God bless his soul. Great guy. He said, I understand you mopped the floor last night. And I said, yes. He said, you know what? I've been at this cafeteria all these years and I've never seen the floor look so good. Would you consider becoming a student manager? And
Wow.
I accepted that offer. That was the very next day. I became a student manager at the cafeteria.
Mhm.
And what was interesting was when I got kicked out of school and I went up to the cafeteria to eat. The lady who turned me away and said I was not on the list to eat, I became her boss at the time. When
Mm.
I became student manager. But I
Yeah.
worked diligently, I worked very hard. And 6 years at Oral Roberts University, I paid my way through college, did not take one college loan, got a few scholarships here and there. And those days they call something AMS. I put all my tuition payment on monthly payments and worked diligently to pay for school. But in those days, too, the immigration laws required that if you are an international student, you could only work 20 hours.
20 hours. Yeah.
20
20
hours. You
hours.
can do more
Yeah.
than that. But by default, because I was the student manager, I had to close the cafeteria. So somehow I had to be there and see that everything is done. And that offered me more hours than normally I would have got. And that made it possible for me to pay my way through college.
No, I mean, I think just in this first 8 to 10 minutes, you have brought out a lot of topics that we can unfold. What the education that you receive back home in Ghana. Really setting that foundation for your family. From your family, taking opportunities to pursue further education outside of Ghana. The struggles of international students, which I'm very passionate about because I was an international student, and those 20 hours, and you're not the first person of speaking to international students who said, oh, they can give a scholarship or some organization was going to do it, and then they came and they did some stuff, and they weren't, and then they found themselves here in the U.S. and that whole thing, that whole system, it's not a great system. And so how do we as Africans really who've gone through that journey provide a avenue for those coming behind us? And then one thing that you also said is it's good to have education. But what I've also known about you, and this may be a segue, is that you're also good at providing opportunity.
Yeah.
Because what people don't understand is a lot of people in Africa are educated. Right? Yeah, we'll get the idea of, is it equivalent to U.S. degree or Western degree, whatever. I did that in oil and gas as a recruitment guy. I had to match degrees. Right. But they have an education, and we're very prudent about that. And a lot of the rebel leaders in the early 50s, 60s, and 70s in Africa went overseas and got education and came back to want to develop their home country. You know what they didn't have?
And all of those guys, yes.
Yeah. Puma, and I think Michel, I think from Mozambique, I read on them and said, one of the things they didn't have, opportunity. So what good is an education when I've studied all this and have bachelors and masters, but yet I don't have the opportunity in order to put that into practice. I don't have the opportunity to care for my family. I don't have the opportunity to be part of these things that you tell me education will bring me, which creates frustration. And so a lot of these rebel leaders are like, you know what? My degree is no good. Let me fight you for something that I want. So, so speak a little bit about how education is important, but what does opportunity look like? And that's one of the things that comes to mind when I speak to you.
I think something that comes very natural for me is that I am very resourceful. Wherever I am, I'm looking for opportunities. What can I do to better the quality of my life? But also, what can I do to help those around me? I'm very passionate about helping people. If I hear of something, I'm telling everybody who needs to know. We have this tendency in our culture where we only think about ourselves, just me and my immediate or family. But some of us shifted away from that kind of mindset to, hey, if this is going to help somebody, I want to be on the mountaintop and scream it. So when opportunity comes and I take advantage of it, I'm looking for how I can help others through that same opportunity. A cousin of mine just recently started seminary here, And I worked with him. He started his application process. The first time he didn't get in, but I kept working with him until now. He is here and he's on his feet and doing very well with, encouragement and little support that I gave and some networking that I had. He was able to get in. I look back now, and that is another person that has been helped. And that's something I also got from my father. When he came back from Canada, he started from his little village where he grew up. He started pulling others and training them and opening opportunities for them. Some went to the same college where he went to in Canada and came back and pretty much did what he did at the different aspects and different departments of the technical education programs in Ghana. So I think as people of African descent, we have a certain resilience. We have grown, a lot of us have grown in the midst of very little, but we take advantage of whatever opportunities and resources we have, and that made us very resourceful. And up until today, I am very resourceful in nature. I'm always looking at how can we better the quality of lives of those around us? How can we support each other? How can we empower each other? And that is what endeared me to the African think tank, where we are not only thinking about ourselves, but we are thinking about how together we can thrive and support each other and network each other. In fact, somebody called me recently the connector, because if anybody comes in the Metroplex and I know of them, I'm quickly talking to them. What line of job are you in? How can we help you? My church has become like that, actually. People come and we quickly connect them to the people in the community that are doing what they want to do and show them the way. In fact, as we are speaking, I'm helping a young lady who taught Teachers College in Ghana, and she's now here and is looking at getting in the teaching field and talking to people about how we can get her into the community colleges to be an English teacher. So that is just one of many such opportunities where I'm constantly looking for ways that I can help others, open doors for them where by themselves they cannot.
And I think that's really important, because that's the philosophy of Ubuntu, right?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the philosophy of Ubuntu, and so I'll come back to it. There's enough thought, but I don't want to take away from what you're sharing here as well. But speak a little about the area of scholarships, because we've been in this area of education, and that's one of the things been is heavy. It's paying for education in the United States. It's really expensive. I'm glad that things are shifting now, or have been shifting over the last few years, where people can do online education from where they're at, so they can stay where they can afford it. There's a school in Ghana which I've been following since its conception, Ashesi University. Phenomenal from what I have read and the things. And any African that I'm like, go check out that school first. I know there's 2 or 3 good institutions. So speak about how you do it in helping people with scholarships, but also about how can people who are not able to come to U.S. back in our continent also take advantage of educational opportunities, because we're just not speaking about ourselves in the West.
Yeah, so it's very important that we have a plan in place. Particularly, this is for the parents who are raising kids here in the United States, to set your children up early. Providing opportunities for them to do extracurricular activities, finding out what they are passionate about, finding out what their interests are, and channeling them into schools that would help direct them into those fields that they are interested in. Those extracurricular activities, the academics also very, very important, keeping their grades up. But things like the talented and gifted programs and extracurricular activities really open doors. When a child is labeled as a gifted and talented student in elementary, when they go to middle school, they are usually in the advanced classes, right? They are performing, if they are in 7th grade, they are taking 8th grade courses, and that follows them through. They get to high school and they are taking AP courses, and some of them even dual credit courses. So positioning your child to be involved in these things open doors down the line for scholarships. But also, as parents, we have to be involved in the education of our children, going to those parent conferences, being involved and finding out what your children are passionate about and channeling them to the schools that, would help foster that. I tell parents, don't just send your child to any school. Take time and do some research about the school. Your school district has schools that are doing very, very well. Look for those schools and put your children in. If they have a particular interest now, a lot of school districts are specializing in different fields like STEM education, the performing arts and visual arts. So once you know your child's passion or what their interests are, you're also very intentional then in sending them to the schools that will help them in that arena. In fact, one thing that is a game changer recently in the last few years, we've had now what we call collegiate academics or early college. That allows a high school student to get 2 years of college while they are in high school through a partnership between the high schools and the community colleges. And the interesting thing is every class they take in the collegiate academy is free. So think about saving 2 years of college tuition.
Yeah.
They graduate high school
at
the same time graduating from community college. My daughter went through that program and is at the UT Arlington now. My son is in that program. He will be a senior next year, but he's already almost done with his community college classes. So all of these are opportunities that families need to know about, ask about, and position their children to go through those programs. Then it comes to the scholarship applications too. We need to work with our kids to apply for the scholarships. The greatest resource for scholarship is the high school counselor. They know the programs, they know the various scholarships. There is something called Common App. Common App is where they apply on one platform and their information gets sent out to several scholarship entities. They are minority scholarships. They are scholarships for unique talent and unique skill. So when it comes to scholarship, it can be merit or it can be need. Merit means they have a high GPA. Need means maybe they have 4 or 5 children in the family, and because of that, they have need to send their kids to college and may not have the resources to do so. So there are scholarships and grants out there, and then being intentional in choosing the right college. Some colleges have money, not only the university, but even the departments, right? Alumni of great colleges pump money back into the university. So let's say I want to do nursing. I need to find a college where they have a good nursing program, but not only that, they have a high volume of alumni that are giving back to that nursing department. So that nursing department in that university will have scholarships that your child can apply for. Want to do engineering, you look at the engineering department and ask for institutional scholarships. The child is doing very well, high GPA, you can apply for those. There is one that I always recommend, questbridge.com. Questbridge will offer up to $200,000 in scholarship. And there is a list, a cohort of schools that are in that partnership. So that Questbridge application usually opens, I want to say around March. So if they are a senior or a junior, they can apply and put in their profile, and they'll match them with the universities that their profile matches with, and be able to get an invitation to apply. And I know young people who have got those scholarships and are in universities now, and that's $200,000. It's a lot of money. But is one.
I think I think we need to find a way where we're telling these stories of students, like putting the face to name of the student who wrote those scholarships, and this is that, and this is, because I think when somebody sees somebody else, like, oh, they got it, and this is, and put that face in that story. That's one of the challenges that I think for a bunch of storytellers, Africans that we say we are, sometimes we don't tell our stories often enough into a wider audience. That's something we at the African Think Tank definitely want to push. And I know two things. Really now, Sidonie has a few questions here about raising your children in a well-rounded and difficult environment, because you've raised your children here and got them through school. Because I think one of your daughter is in music.
Yes.
So I want to ask that question is, how do we encourage African parents to change their mindset that this generation has a lot more opportunity than just the lawyer and doctor
Yeah.
And, look at your daughter who's in none of those fields, a field that years ago, nobody would have even, if you're an African parent, your kid better not come until they want to sing. All right. That's not happening. Or with Uname, who is our assistant regional director, golf. She has been doing some great things as a golfer in Botswana and coming to the US. So we have to also, as these opportunities open up for our children, it's also working with parents and having their mindset change as well, which is I think a lot easier if you're here in the US versus being in Africa and trying to send your kid in the US to the US or to anywhere in the world. But I understand the tension they have as well in trying to find the right school and right path for their kids.
Right. Yeah. So as a parent, and Betty and I made sure that we identify the interests of our children and just supported them. I know that when Enyonam decided music was what she wanted to do, we made sure that we provided avenues to help hone that skill, to help develop that. And how did we do that? We made sure that the summers she enrolled in the Black Academy of Arts and Letters. That's where she really got a lot of her training in the summer, where they do acting workshops, music workshops, instruments and all of that, singing. So the Black Academy of Arts and Letters, she's done that over the years since middle school, doing that every summer. So finding opportunities like that and immersing the children in there, if you know that is what they are interested in, is what helps. Plus support them, right? Support them. We go to her rehearsals, we go to her shows. When they finish the summer camp, they put up this big 2-night event. And we publicize that in our community, and we have friends and family go out and support her. So that parental support, community support is very, very important. That when we see any of our young people is interested in a particular field, that we take advantage of that opportunity and channel them to do the very best they can in giving them that support. But more importantly, not just sending them, but go to their shows, go to the events, be present, meet other parents. Those are very, very important. So that parental involvement is key. Finding out what they are passionate about, what their interests are, and steering them into the schools that help develop that. Yeah.
All right, guys. Sidoni has been the only person who's made some comments and questions. Please, I know there's like 7 or 8 people. Call your friends. They need to be jumping on this call. Please ask your questions. I don't want to be the only person. I have a list of questions here for our guest, but we really want you to engage with every guest that we have on, because this is a conversation and our guest brings a bunch of knowledge. I want to also ask you around, because you're about to have, before I forget, I'm gonna interject. Your birthday's coming up here
Actually,
soon.
Today is the eve of my birthday officially, June 27th. Tomorrow I turn 60, and I'm very excited about how far the Lord has brought me. Some of you already are aware that I'm planning a birthday party, July 19th, but it's not just a party; it's a party with a purpose. Raising funds to complete a library that my family and I are building, my sibling and I are building for the manual to building it as in memory of our father, who was a great educator and an icon in his small village of 1,700 people. And we are building the Raphael Osae Memorial Library and Learning Center. We've already started. The foundation is laid. We have all the blocks ready to go. And in hopes that this party people will be very generous and give to support that initiative. We are asking people to give, anywhere from $100 and up. For $100, they get a commemorative brick with their name on it that will line the walkway to the library. So talk about legacy. That when that library is built, when people walk in, they will see your name on a commemorative brick. We are asking those who can give $250,000 and more. We will get a picture of them and frame it so it will line the wall of the library as founding members of that library. So this is how fundraising is done in America. When you walk in the hospital, you see all those names of people, family names. They give for that project. And I think we need to change our mindset in how we do fundraising. And this is an experiment. I'm trying that to see how our community responds to that type of fundraising. I already talked to the shipper. I've received close to about 5,000 books already. And I spoke to the shipper, and it's going to be $50 a box. So at the party, there will be a boxed books for people to say, I want to ship a box of book, or I want to ship 2 boxes. Give them an opportunity, to be part of this legacy project. It's about significance. When you get to a certain point in your life, it's not about yourself. It's about what you are leaving behind. We need to leave our footprints. And in that library, or building that library in memory of my father, is to leave his footprint in that village and to say somebody came through this place and he made a difference. And I hope that one day, somebody will also do something like that for me. For now, I want to memorialize my father.
And that's a powerful story. I mean, that issue, that question of legacy, and that's what we are as being individuals. As far as the African think tank, we're always talking about legacy and what we're trying to push forward, and helping each individual to be successful. Right? We as an organization are only successful at the rate that our individuals are successful. That the people come in with their talents and their skills and their gifts and everything in order to develop and grow this organization. And just what would be and how long has it been since you've been home? I think the last time we talked, it's been many years.
I felt very embarrassed to say that, but I have not been home in 22 years. But the timing is now right for me to start doing some things on the continent. I just signed my contract for another year, but already I know I'm not going to be working after this coming school year. I want to retire and begin to do some things on the continent. In fact, just today, I had a conversation with a good contact in the Bahamas who have asked me to come and do training for science teachers in the Bahamas. So we started having conversation about setting that curriculum and the modules that the teachers need in the Bahamas and the surrounding islands. So we've already started that conversation to be able to go down to the Bahamas and provide science teacher training for science teachers in the Bahamas, and also do a summer camp for their middle and high school kids. So that conversation actually happened this morning on a Zoom call.
Wow.
So I'm saying all that to say, as I have not been home, now I'm shifting my focus on the diaspora and going out back to the continent and to the Caribbean islands to begin to deposit what I have learned all these years. My 27 years in education, 15 or more of that was as an instructional coach, a science coach, science teacher, mentor. And I have also received a citation from the state legislature of Texas as a science teacher mentor in the state of Texas. I have been involved through the National Board program in mentoring science teachers who want to gain their National Board certification, a credential that I received in 2008, which is the highest credential you can get in the teaching field. Just like doctors and lawyers have their board exams, National Board certification is something that make you stand out as an outstanding educator and recognized everywhere in the United States. So with a National Board certification, you could actually teach in other states without some states that allow it without taking their state certification exam. So it's a high credential to have. And not only do I have that, but I've mentored several teachers who are now National Board certified. Some are still in the process of becoming National Board certified teachers.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, congratulations on this thing in the Bahamas. We have some people that enjoy being in the Bahamas. We won't say any names, but but you're doing some great things in the Bahamas. I'm glad you're reaching out to the African diaspora wherever they are.
Yeah,
I think along those same lines of education and opportunity, can you speak a little bit about your initiative with STEM called STEM in the City?
Yes.
What is that about? How did it come into fruition, and where do you see it taking next steps?
Yeah, STEM in the City was conceived because I wanted opportunity for young people to explore careers in the STEM field. When you look at the job market today and the trending in the labor market, STEM careers are some of the high-paying jobs. It used to be that when you think of a scientist, you think of somebody in the basement somewhere in a lab coat, but now scientists are everywhere. Talk about Spotify. People have done sound engineering, and right out of college, they are starting salary anywhere from 120,000 and above. So there is science everywhere, nutrition, IT, all of these fields that used to not be considered sciencey fields are now looking for people with science, technology, engineering, and math skills. So given that that is a growing industry or a growing labor market, I wanted to be a catalyst for empowering young people to want to go into STEM careers. And that is why STEM in the City was born. And I have done some programs with kids in our community. We've done some sleepovers. We've gone to the Peru Museum of Nature and Science. I am in communication with the Trinity River Audubon to do some programs there. I used to take kids to Space Camp in Huntsville, Alabama. I'm looking at bringing that program under STEM in the City, where young people who want to go into aviation and aeronautical space can go to Space Camp, get to interact with real astronauts, do activities and some of the trainings that astronauts do, and do simulation on missions. So I did that over the years, and I now, with STEM in the City, want to bring that under the umbrella of STEM in the City. And hopefully, not this summer, but next summer, I want to take about a dozen kids with me to the Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama, and kick off that space camp program within STEM in the City. Things happen in our schools too when it comes to STEM, but I think a community initiative would be more of a thriving environment, not too rigid, but relaxed, where kids can just discover. In the classroom, we are limited, testing and all of that. Sometimes, even as a science educator, I'm limited by how much exploration and experiments I can do with my kids, because we have to quickly get to the other subjects. We have little time, but STEM in the City offers them opportunity to explore. And I hope that through STEM in the City, some young people can be shaped to go into STEM careers, and they will come back and keep STEM in the City going. It is my hope that STEM in the City will become a household name, not only something that will be in Dallas. I do want to see it have a franchise in the future where there is STEM in the City Atlanta, STEM in the City New York, STEM in the City, Philadelphia, and so on and so forth. So that is the long-term vision. It's one of the reasons why I think I'm ready to retire, so I can give more attention to these types of initiatives, because those give me a lot of joy to see young people flourish and really broaden their horizon and open opportunities for them.
And you STEM in the City also does stuff with the Dallas Arboretum as well, correct?
Yes.
You've done that for a number of years. What does that look like?
Well, I have partnered with the Arboretum, and what we do is we do overnight events. So they have an overnight, or we call it sleepover. The kids are dropped off by 5:30 in the afternoon, and they bring their sleeping bags. We provide snacks and refreshments. They bring their toiletries, pillow, comforters, and all that. And throughout the night, we do science investigations. The Arboretum sets up a curriculum that the kids will do throughout the night. They do the Omni Lab, which is more like a planetarium. And then later at night, when it's dark, we go out and explore nocturnal animals in the park, and come back, and we have lights out. They sleep. The next morning, we give them continental breakfast, and then we go out and explore the park, the beauty of all the flowers and plants over there. And the Arboretum staff are excellent in how they facilitate all those programs. And we've done 3 sleepovers there already. And those kids who came the first time have actually come back, because every time we go, we do a different type of activity. So it is not redundant. It is something fresh, something new. They do a different thing in the fall, a different thing in the winter, a different thing in the summer. So as we are planning one next month, the activities they'll be doing will be summer-like type of activities. Yeah.
Oh, so we need an adult version. We need an adult version of a lot of things. But anyway,
Absolutely. In fact, they have a program for the adults in the Arboretum, so we can look at that. sip
Oh,
wine and explore the park or something to that effect. We can go there
okay.
and do that as the African think tank one night.
And I think that's a good idea too, because I think sometimes you just spoke to this a little bit, is that it may be a way to getting a lot of our parents to be involved in the things that children are doing.
Right.
On one hand, I understand because people are working to support their families, third shift, schedule, whatnot. But whether it's parents, or let's take this way, because I want to speak to this, I think it will tie into everything that we're doing as well, is even if it's not the parents that can attend a child's events, that if you talk about the African community, it should be a mentor or somebody else. Say, look, a parent could be like, I want to go, but I can't. I got a third shift, and my wife has first shift. Can somebody in the community go and support my child? That's how it used to be. It wasn't, when we talk about family within our culture, it is everyone who has a say so, or you've given that permission to be in your family, because sometimes they just need an opportunity to see somebody from the community there.
Right.
And it's not that, because our parents who have the heart and the desire, I think that's across the board, but it's just not within the life situations. But how does the community step and say, hey, I'm going to go sit in so your child's not alone?
And you make a very good point. It's one of the motivations for STEM in the city. For those of you who have followed me, I love to travel and do things with my own children, right?
Yeah.
So being able to have a platform where parents who, for whatever reason, job situation, they have to do 2-3 shifts and they just don't have the time to do that. We still want to give our young people in our community these opportunities. And that is where STEM in the city comes in, where the parents themselves are too busy to do this for their kids. But we have something like this where we have volunteers, and they can come and work with the children. There's a trust level there too. They have to trust you. Right now, I think I've developed enough trust that when those kids come, the parents look forward to bringing them back, because the kids, they are your best advertisement. They go back and say how much fun they had. And I've had some of them as return to different programs that we are doing. So STEM in the city is serving a need in our community, and I want to really make sure that our young people are taking advantage of it, and our community and the parents are letting their kids come to some of these events to broaden their horizon and to pick their interest into STEM careers in the future.
Okay. Can you speak to a little bit? I want to talk to you about the involvement with the African think tank. I don't know if I think I mentioned it or you haven't mentioned it yet. How did you first hear about it and get involved, and how do you serve now with the African think tank in your role?
When I heard about the African think tank, the whole concept, when you are an academic and you hear a think tank, you know that these are brains coming together. That attracted me to the first meeting. And when I came there, the energy, the information, I think King Guapo was the
Okay.
host
So that
of
was
that
your first
night.
meeting?
Yeah, yes, with around Lafayette Airport, that location.
Yeah.
So that was Betty and I came out that night, and I have not missed one meeting since then. And down the line, Dr. Sidonia had asked if I would serve as the vice chair, and I gladly accepted. In fact, I don't know if I should say this, but my brother who you interviewed, I just asked him today, hey, would you play a role for us? Dr. Sidonia asked me, would you find out if you'll be willing to be on our advisory board? And when I said it, he did not beat, he did not even blink. He's like, yeah, I'll be happy to help, and we are partnering with him to get some initiatives going on the continent. So I'm very excited about the African think tank. I'm excited about the possibilities that we have to empower each other here, but also to begin to do some things on the continent. For example, I want to see, different projects spring forth out of the African think tank, such as the cassava plantation that I'm involved in. I want to see things like that spring all around the continent, where we in the diaspora are beginning to reach out and begin to initiate and cause some things to start happening on the continent. So I see a great future for the African think tank in our ability not only to empower ourselves, but also to mobilize ourselves, and together with our resources, we can do so much more than any one individual person can do. So really, the African think tank is greater than any one individual. It is a movement, and I think it's going to be a growing movement like wildfire.
That's good. And I know the things I've always appreciated you with the African think tank is, you always close out with a great story of who we are as the African people, the African think tank, and always about supporting, because we're always talking about how do we put money into the things we need to do, because there is a cost to it. And then that has been a struggle, but we keep pushing for it and keep reminding folks that, it doesn't take much, because when you have a great deal of individuals who are contributing both of their time, talents, and treasures to a initiative that they believe in, it will grow. And what we've done in the last 2 years as the think tank, especially becoming 501c3 and then the other initiatives, we should be proud. There's still a lot of work to be done. We're constantly reminded of that, but definitely proud of everybody who contributes to it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Did you want to add something?
Well, I was going to say that I've often used the fire log metaphor, that in a village, when we all come out at night and we want to come to the bonfire, everybody brings a firewood, right? Bring a fire log. And we gather all that fire log and we build a bonfire and we sit around and we tell stories. That is typical communal spirit, right? Where the community together makes things happen. So, those of you listening to us or would listen to the recording later, please support the African Think Tank. Go to theafricanthinktank.com and give to support this work. We want you to bring your fire log, that together we can build a fire that would bring warmth to all of us. When I say warmth, I mean progress, development, empowerment, increase, that together we will thrive.
What has been, I'll ask it because we have about maybe 10, 12 minutes here. What has been some personal challenges culturally for you? Because I think we talk about the positives. I mean, of course, we talked about how you went through your educational period, which really built that resilience. And so maybe it's a question on resilience. What has been some of the struggles that you continue to see within the African community or with yourself that you would like to see us address, or that you have been addressing?
I think for far too long, certain segments in our community settle for less. And I'll give an example. Somebody comes and lands in New York. And, the people they lodge with or met drove taxi. So then that is what they do until they retire. They don't go to school. They don't take advantage of the many opportunities that are here in the United States. I think that mindset is changing, and we need to change quickly, because there are so many opportunities here for personal growth and development. In fact, these days, there are some programs that you don't even need a college degree to be able to land yourself a 6-figure income job, with short-term training programs and things like that. So we just need to take the limit off ourselves and take advantage of the opportunities around us. The other thing too that sometimes we are allowed to limit us is we think because we have an accent. And as a teacher, you go and sometimes the kids will kind of make fun of your accent, but I tell them we all have accent. You have an accent, I have an accent. You think I have an accent, you have an accent too. As far as I'm concerned, you have an accent. So shouldn't let those things limit us. I know a few people who have left the classroom because kids have made fun of the accent, or they say we can't understand him when he teaches, or that kind of stuff. We need to walk tall. We need to walk tall and have confidence in ourselves, and not allow some of these limitations to keep us from moving forward. And importantly, we shouldn't limit ourselves. Dream and pursue your dream. Whatever you want to accomplish, go for it. Take the baby steps, right? Compound effect, right? We talk about compound interest, but compound effect, the small things we do that compound to continue to develop and make us who we become, and propel us into the future we want for ourselves and our children and our communities.
We also call you Pastor Martin.
Yes.
So I want you to speak to that, why we call you Pastor, that title that you have there, because
Right.
the spiritual aspect is very strong, and
Yeah.
love for God is
Yeah.
number one. So I
Yeah.
want to definitely give you a platform to speak to how
Right.
is that the journey that has really encompassed everything about who you are.
So ministry has always been the thread that has connected all of my life. I started out as a Sunday school teacher through Child Evangelism Fellowship in Ghana. I became a trainer of teachers through Child Evangelism Fellowship, and from there went to Switzerland to study children's ministry. While in Switzerland, I was involved in children ministry, then on to London, England, where I started training Sunday school teachers. So that thread of faith and being involved in ministry has always been part of me. When I went
Mhm.
to college at Oral Roberts University, I joined the United Methodist Church, and the very next week, I got involved in their children's ministry. And while I was there, started a puppet ministry. And we will go out on Saturdays to nursing homes and retirement homes with the kids. I will take them and we'll go do puppet shows for the senior citizens that were in those residencies, you know. And then when I came to Dallas area, I started helping my very good friend Richard Barno and his wife Lucinda Barno in Plano. They had a Fountain of Life International Church. I supported and helped them there, became the associate pastor there, and later on moved closer to where I teach the southern part of town and started helping an Assemblies of God church. During this time also, I was involved in the Ebe community, which is my native tribe. The Ebes in the Dallas area. I became the president of the Ebe Association of Dallas and was involved in developing some ideas and new things. We put in place a scholarship program where every child of the Ebe community that graduates from high school and does not stay home and go to college, at our Christmas party, we gave them a scholarship to buy textbooks. So those were some initiatives that I brought about. We also talked about building our own community center, and I started doing programs to raise funds for it. And that program is still ongoing to where now we will be very soon be able to buy a place we can call our own. So wherever I go, ministry and community development and leadership seem to just follow me. And then I got tapped to come and lead the starting of a Presbyterian church, and had to go to seminary to get some training because I already have my bachelor's and master's. I didn't have to go to do a 4-year program or a 2-year program. I went to do a certificate program at Austin Theological Seminary and started leading the Ghanaian Fellowship, or now we call it ourselves the Ghanaian Community Presbyterian Church. It's
Okay.
been nearly 10 years this year, and we are planning an anniversary actually. So I have been bivocational, working full time, doing ministry, and there's an aspect of me that I don't do quite often lately. It's also financial literacy education, and help people get life insurance and help them plan for their future, set up college plans for their kids and things like that.
Mm.
So it's the motivation has always been helping people. It hasn't been the money, it has been more of how can I make a difference in the lives of those around me.
Mhm. And you definitely have. You've definitely impacted my life. I know you've impacted many people's lives within the African think tank, specifically because that's what we work together at. I want to give you time. You mentioned something about the cassava uh, business in
Yeah.
Ghana. So I want to give you some time to speak to what is that about, and I know people can get involved
Yeah.
and extend an invitation to individuals about that.
Yes, so Heritage 20 Corporation is a group of investors. I learned about it 2 years ago through the EBE community, which is the Council of EBE Associations of North America. And these are people, groups from the Volta region of Ghana, Togo, and Benin. And actually now we discovered there are some EBEs in Nigeria as well. But some of the leaders there, one, Dr. Towuzo, who is a food scientist himself, he's in Oklahoma City, had the conversation with a few leaders, and they decided to start this cassava plantation, but then use the idea of crowdfunding where people give to donate or buy into the project. Basically, $100 a share is what they floated out, and they started about 3 years ago. This is the fourth year. We are in the fourth year now, and we now have about 68 acres of cassava. We just recently harvested. In about a month, we'll be harvesting another plot, and the next phase is to build a processing center. But the beautiful thing about cassava is that it is a staple, it's very sustainable, but it has a lot of byproducts. Starting cassava is used for ethanol, it is used for pharmaceutical products, it is also used for flour for baking. The cassava chips are used for animal feed and also for human consumption as well. The interesting thing, technology that is out recently is the cassava peels. Those of you who grew up in Africa where we have cassava, usually we throw the peel away or we feed it to our goats and sheep. But now there's a technology out of South Africa where the cassava peel can be processed into cement for building material.
Say again, into
so
what?
Cassava, into cement, into building material like cement, right?
Okay.
So cassava, even the leaves is eaten and medicinal. The stick can be used. So every part of the cassava is very, is an economic, highly economical and economic product. You can use it for anything. And we see, in fact, they are touting cassava now as the next gold in West Africa because of the economic impact and the amount of things that can be made out of cassava. And one of the things our investment group is considering is to start our own processing plant and begin to develop byproducts of cassava. I mean, even the starch alone for pharmaceutical, that's big. So having our own processing plant, and the liquid in the cassava is the starch. You have the cassava peel to go into building materials. You have the cassava grits itself for gari, which is a staple in most West African. You have it with your milk and your peanuts, and you have a nice, snack right there. So I'm excited to be a part of that program and able to recruit a few others from our community here in the Dallas area who have joined. And basically, $1,000 a year is the commitment to be a part of the investment group, or you can do $100 a month. So that makes about $1,200 a year. But we put all our resources together, and we are paying. We have employees that are working on the ground. In fact, my brother Michael is our technical expert on the ground, and he goes to visit the farm quite often and gives us technical advice. He helps us to choose the right variety of cassava to grow that is high yielding, and within 2-3 months we are harvesting. So if I've not been this excited about any investment like this one, but more important, that it's on the continent. And I can say that through that initiative, we have people working on the farm, who are being paid to do the job, and we are just sending our money for the work to be done and providing these jobs. And I see that as one of many things that are going to happen in the near future, where a few of us come together and we sponsor a project. So many thriving opportunities are in Africa now, and Africa is really the next front. People are doing fish farming. People are doing snail farming, believe it or not. There is a gentleman here in the Metroplex. He has a farm in Rwanda. I know him personally. And the liquid from the snail is used for cosmetics. So he is growing snail, not for the snail meat, but for the liquid that is going to be used in cosmetic production. And he's doing very, very well. So Africa is ripe.
Yeah.
It's now, but we in Diaspora have a responsibility to become the catalyst for some of these projects on the continent.
No, I think you've provided so much information that we need to be weaving together. You and I recently, we got about 3-4 minutes, so we can close up here soon. You and I recently were asked to go to Houston, to support the African think tank in Houston. So with your brother now being on the board, I think, of the African think tank, I think we're starting to make our way into Africa as an organization. And so maybe they'll send us to Africa in order to open up the initiative there
to the continent, right?
On the continent, because I think I really see us somewhere connecting those two, the diaspora, right? Because I recently wrote about there's the African diaspora, and then there's our Africans on the continent, and though we're connected through, I think definitely through Ubuntu, we have a responsibility to pour back. because a lot of other outside organizations and individuals are pointing the way that we are called to do. And so as we continue to open up those doors, I want to also make a quote on the issue of Ubuntu. This year's gala is coming up. I think tickets are going to start selling here very soon. And our keynote speaker is Caroline Wanga. And she made a comment that I found very powerful, that she said, and this is, I was attributed to Ubuntu. She says, I would say Ubuntu is measured by how, I'm putting in the Ubuntu myself, but is measured by how the least of us are doing, not the best of us. That was very powerful. That hit me, not the best of us. And it continues with, and so no matter how successful I am, if the person next to me is not successful, then I become an advocate. Then I'm not being the kind of activist I should be. And so I think one of the things I love about the think tank is that we talk a lot about our successes and how we're doing and whether we're, financially well, but we can only be measured also by not the best of us, but by the least of us. And for those who've gone through the journey and have had those opportunities, how are we then pouring back, like you with the cassava farm, and you with now looking at establishing legacy through the library to honor your father. It's always this coming back circle to go home. And so I'm going to leave you the last word of encouragement that you can give to all of us, and then we will close. Right?
If I can say one word for the African think tank, it will be bridge builders. We are building a bridge now to the continent. So we become the bridge on which others will flow to do things on the continent. As we who come from those communities, who know the community best, who have the community's interest at heart, when we go out there to do something with investors from here, we are not exploiting our people, we are providing opportunity for our people. Others will come and exploit, but when we are leading the effort, the goal is partnership, the goal is investment, the goal is providing opportunities and lifting people out of poverty and improving the quality of lives of the people. And again, I don't want to forget about our Cultural Bridge program, which we have now for our young people, so that every Saturday they can get online and learn about their heritage and learn about their culture and learn about the people and the customs and traditions of Africa. So the Cultural Bridge, which is an initiative of the African think tank, it's one that is beginning to raise the next generation of Africans in the diaspora and to help them to be proud of who they are as people of African descent and not lose that identity of their culture, their heritage, and their roots.
Thank you. Thank you. With that, I'm going to say thank you, Pastor Martin. I appreciate you last minute coming on here. Very encouraging. Thank you for those who jumped on. Please share this link and join us next month as we do our next week, as I have another speaker lined up. But it's important, and it goes back to what Pastor Martin said. These TATT talks, we need to share. We need to participate, ask questions, find resources, make sure others are aware of what's going on, so that sharing of that information and sharing of resources allows us to grow as a community. Allows the TATT. That's why we're here at TATT Talks. Yes. So I appreciate again everyone's time. Again, I appreciate you, Pastor Martin, and you have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you.